Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. I got my Johnny Cash on this week, and we had a short week in Greece. We spent about 5 days in Greece. We didn't do the normal 2 weeks. This is a Torchlight only.
Yeah, this is a Torchlight only week. There's not a build your library component for Greece. It's kind of mixed in with southern France, and so we just stuck with Torchlight.
We stuck with Torchlight. So we spent the week studying ancient Greece, and we, of course, hit food.
Yeah, those were our focus areas this week.
What else to do when you're in the Aegean?
Right.
Study history. So let's start with books.
Yes.
Greetings from Somewhere. Now this was the first time I got to read one of these.
Right, I've read the other ones. This is the Greetings from Somewhere series that's part of Torchlight. These are really easy early chapter books with some good, just kind of black and white illustrations. Nothing too crazy, but engaging.
Yeah, it basically tells the story of the brother and sister are homeschooled because their parents are going around the world on an expedition. The mother's a writer for a newspaper back at home, and they're
a gig, huh?
Yeah, I know. Yes, obviously. So they've gone into Greece, and there's some mystery, and they're seeing things, and they found some things in this dig that they had joined in. And there's a mysterious man who keeps bothering them, and somehow their grandfather is missing. And so there's a lot of mystery. Really opens up the story. I think it weaves together a lot of the earlier stories as well into this giant, underground mystery society. And so it's really cool. We read it in a single sitting. It did not take very long at all.
Yeah, so this is the final book in this series, or what's currently the final book. I don't know, maybe they're going to come out with more. But
it definitely felt like at the end of it, like they're going to be writing more. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this wrapped up a lot of some of the mystery elements from the earlier series, but we've only read, this will be our fourth. This is our fourth book, and this is obviously book 10. So definitely we're going to be popping back into earlier parts of the story. So I'm just, a note, a word of warning, if you want to go strictly in order with this series, you might not want to read this one yet because it does sum up quite a few things that happened in earlier books.
Absolutely. Next we have the always classic Aesop's Fables.
Yep, so this is the McElderry version of this, which is recommended from Torchlight. Really enjoyed the illustrations in this book, and all the stories were really short. Of course, the classic Aesop's Fables and talking about morals and things. But I thought that this was a good version. How do you think this compares to other versions that you've read of Aesop's Fables?
Very much age appropriate.
Yes, I thought so too.
I think that was the biggest thing for me. It took some of the darkness out of the stories that can. I think were more normal for maybe 100 years ago. Nowadays, our sensibility is a little bit softer.
These are quite a bit older than that, even.
Yeah, even that, yeah. But very age appropriate. I did not feel like I had to censor anything or anything of that nature, so I really enjoyed it.
Yep, I thought it was good, and we had a conversation after each one. We read a couple each day, and that's how we got through the book in the week. And so it was nice. We talked about the moral from each one. I would rather we do books like this than the Molly and Keela, which is their recommendation for talking about morals and kindness and different stuff. Did not enjoy that one. Yeah, that one was much more heavy-handed than this one. And our daughter really enjoyed this McElderry version. So if you can find this one, it's a good version of it.
Anthropomorphized animals are always,
right.
very good.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Next, I got to get on the spine. Hour of the Olympics.
Yes, this is a magic treehouse. So Jack and Annie, again, are getting to travel through time for Morgan Le Fay and her magic librarian, and they meet up with Socrates, I want to say. Or Plato? Socrates? I don't remember. Anyways.
One was the teacher of the other.
I think it's Socrates. Anyways,
we'll go with it.
So this Jack and Annie go back in time and meet up with this famous philosopher, and just gonna ride right through it, sailing right through that. I don't remember exactly. I'm gonna admit it, guys. But this was interesting because it was all about the Olympic Games in ancient Greece, and it was really interesting because our daughter learned a lot about what was allowed. This talked about women weren't allowed to be writers. Women weren't allowed to even attend the Olympics, let alone compete. They weren't even allowed to attend, and they got into some trouble. And so this was good. I think it gave her a good perspective on the origins of the Olympics, but also some of the challenges at that time. I mean, it's totally age appropriate. This is perfect for our daughter's just a newly 6-year-old. She understood all of it and really enjoyed it. These books are, they're always pretty good. I don't think as a parent that I really get into them all that much, but my daughter sure loves them. I've heard that from a lot of parents too, that Magic Tree House is kind of like, oh, there's like 100 of them. I don't want to read this again as a parent, but the kids are always clamoring for more, and that's our daughter too. So this fit in perfectly with Grease for us.
Next one, The Dress and the Girl. I read this one to my daughter. Very wonderful story about immigrants coming to America from, obviously from Greece in this respect, and the idea of memory and things that connect you to your past, obviously told through the dress. This little girl has a dress. When she comes to America, she loses the dress, and eventually she grows up, and she ends up finding the dress again, and it solidifies all her emotions from connection to her old land, her life in the new land. A really, really powerful, really poignant story. I enjoyed it a lot. My daughter loved it as well. Obviously, you can see the drawings are very nice, but the story, I think, is top notch. Just really, just rocketed up one of my favorite books in all of our series. I felt very, not just emotional, but like there was a depth in the story that you rarely see in children's books. So, highly recommend this one. Next one is a new nonfiction one, The Children of the Ancient World.
Yes, If I Were a Kid in Ancient Greece. So this is a bit over the head. I would say over the head, but it's a bit long for 5-6-year-old. So what we did was we pulled parts selectively. This just talked about how kids in ancient Greece, where they would sleep, what they would eat, the rules in their house, where they would go to school, what your life would have been like if you were a child living in ancient Greece. And there was a lot of really good information in here. So I almost wish we had more time to delve into this one, because this was a really meaty book, but we kind of hopped through, and I said, well, what would you like to learn about? Do you want to know about this piece? You want to know about the home more, or more about school? And so we kind of just clued in on those areas and read about it, but we really enjoyed it, and she learned a whole lot about what was allowed in ancient Greece, what girls could and couldn't do, and so it was really good. But I highly recommend this series, even if it's a little bit above the head of a 5-6-year-old at this age. It was still good.
Next one, a little bit more on the dense side, The Iliad by Homer. That was good. It's right there. I saw it. I would recommend this one for your young learner instead. Wonderful.
The illustrations.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the version by Marsha Williams. She does just wonderful stuff.
Yes. I was actually reading this while we were in Greece when my daughter was, we were reading all these books. So actually, it was nice. It was a nice kind of synergy there.
She does just gorgeous illustrations.
Wonderful drawings. Marcia, just fantastic. I cannot recommend this book high enough. It takes a lot of the fun. I didn't like the Iliad as much, because the Iliad can be a very difficult story to kind of keep it all together. There's gods and there's goddesses, and this guy's here, and Paris is over here, Hector's over here, Achilles is here. Very complex. But I would say if you have an early learner, jump to the Odyssey section, which is basically the last 60% of this book. Scene by scene, shows you all the famous scenes from the Odyssey as Odysseus tries to get home to Penelope. Wonderful story, wonderful telling of that classic story. And as somebody, we've talked about this before, I always love to have simplified stories of classic literature that young kids can read and enjoy and appreciate, so that as they get older, when they're introduced to maybe a children's middle grade version of the book, and then eventually when you get a little bit older, you're actually reading the primary text, I think they'll have a familiarity with that. They'll have the lore embedded within them. I really enjoy this. I love this book. This is great. Obviously, the drawings are so playful, so fun. Yeah. I can't recommend this.
She has a number of really good books, and this is just one of them. Yeah. But I think this is great. I definitely intend to use this again when we study ancient Greece next year as part of our Ancient Civilizations curriculum.
After that, we went a little bit into the movies. Saw Hercules.
Yeah, we only did a week of Greece, and we could not do Hercules.
We had a busy week. It was kind of broken up across 2 weeks. We had some family obligations, so we were kind of jumping around. Obviously, we tossed on Hercules.
It's on Disney Plus. Yeah, it was just easy, entertaining, perfect for a 5-year-old.
Fun, entertaining, great music.
Yeah, so that was a win-win-win for us.
Absolutely. Next, we hopped into the kitchen. had pitas.
I made homemade pitas. So we'll put the recipe down in the show notes if you want to look for that. Homemade pitas are really easy, and I don't want any of you to be intimidated by making them. I think that the recipe that I have here that I used said to cook them on a pizza stone in the oven. I didn't do that. I just heated up a cast iron skillet and cooked them on the stove. So don't feel intimidated by the having to do it in the oven part of it. Really easy and delicious. And then we made some Greek seasoned chicken and kind of made gyros out of these fresh, warm pitas. It was totally worth it.
Girls loved them. It was super easy to do. It was a wonderful dinner for all of us to sit around, and we can talk a little bit about Greece while we're doing it.
It was nice for the girls to be able to help. You got to roll the pitas really thin, so my daughter was helping me to get them to the right consistency, and so it was really nice.
Absolutely. Next, we hit a little bit of videos. Watched 300. No, I didn't. A little bit. Ooh, she sneezed.
I'm sorry.
We watched some videos about the Acropolis. We talked about sailing the Aegean Sea. One of the things that I had to show my daughter is that Greece isn't just this wonderful peninsula coming off, but it encompasses hundreds and thousands of islands there in the Aegean Sea. Thing that I was able to do with her, we went straight to Google Maps, one of the great resources for geography, especially if you're going around the world. It's a must-have. We went around, and I know on Google Maps you can hop down on those little islands. You can drive around, see the white buildings on the edge of cliffs. It's a beautiful way to see the country. It was a great way for me to kind of walk through it. I was able to cast that onto the television using our Roku and able to show what's on the iPad up onto the screen. Putting it on the big screen can really magnify, how cool it is. And then obviously my daughter was able to drive around these little towns, go through Athens, see some of the great sites. Fantastic resources available right there. And I know we lost an hour or so just doing that. So I really highly recommend using Google Maps. If you can, pair that with this, especially, if you're on a shorter week or you're trying to fill some time, maybe you didn't have enough time to do some YouTube videos, or you're going to grandma's house for the holidays or whatever it might be, Google Maps is always there for you. Well, we finished up with Greece.
Yep, this was a short one, but we finished this. We're moving now into the winter holidays here. It's just after Thanksgiving, so we're going to be studying, doing a winter holidays around the world unit study from Build Your Library. So stay tuned. We'll give you our wrap up of how we like that when we're done with it. But we're going to be doing that, so we'll take a break from our around the world for a little bit. After Christmas, we will be back and we'll be jumping right into Italy. So stay with us. We'll be on a little hiatus here for a few weeks as we celebrate the holidays, and we hope that you all have happy winter holidays with your families as well.
We'll see you in 2022. Well, we're closer to 2050 than 1990.
Don't say it.
2050 than 1990. This is terrifying. What is happening? Anyway, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Hope you have a great holidays.